Andrew Jackson, hero.
To end the War of 1812, the Treaty of Ghent was signed in December 1814. This treaty restored American and British status before the war. However, the message was not received in New Orleans, so British troops attacked New Orleans, but their plan backfired and failed. When Jackson saw that the British plan was failing, he took the opportunity to defend New Orleans and win the battle. He became a national hero and defined America as a world power. In 1824, Jackson ran for president against John Quincy Adams, Henry Clay, and William Crawford. However, he lost because of his non-commitment to the national bank, protective tariffs, and improvements for the nation. In 1828, Jackson fought again for president, this time only against John Quincy Adams. Having appealed to the southern and western states, Jackson won the election with 60%.
Pros of Jackson's presidency.
While Andrew Jackson was president, he advocated for all classes of society and voiced the opinions and concerns of the minorities. He also eliminated the Bank of the United States, opened elections to all, rejected a national tariff, and attempted to remove all corruption in the government.
Congress had disagreements about the Bank of the United States. Jackson believed it had a negative effect on the country. The bank war resulted in disputes over whether or not there should be a national bank. After fighting hard, Jackson got what he wanted.
Jackson greatly opposed the Bank of the United States. He felt the bank symbolized how the business class oppressed the will of the common people, and he redistributed them to the state banks. He spoke for the common people and their needs.
Andrew Jackson is the only president who served in both the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. The War of 1812 gave him national recognition he would later need to win the presidency. After winning a major battle, he was promoted to Major General in the U.S. Army.
In order for Jackson to gain popularity for the presidential election, Martin Van Buren thought of national campaigns that included rallies and newspapers. His successful win eventually led to national conventions for all representatives. By 1816, states had their own constitutions, which helped suffrage of all white males. Property regulations were taken out of most of the constitutions, which benefited free blacks and some women.
As long as our government is administered for the good of the people and is regulated by their will, as long as it secures to us the rights of persons and of property, liberty of conscience, and of the press, it will be worth defending.
Or was he a hypocrite?
Hypocrite!
While many saw him as a promoter of minorities, Jackson openly denounced the rights of African Americans and Native Americans. Even though Andrew Jackson's main philosophical belief was to support the minorities and have no distinct classes, he was pro-slavery and did not want to abolish it.
That's not fighting for the minorities.
Hypocrite!
In 1838 and 1839, as part of Jackson's removal policy, the Cherokee Nation was forced to give up its lands east of the Mississippi River and to migrate to an area in present-day Oklahoma. The Cherokee people called this journey the Trail of Tears because of its devastating effects. The migrants faced hunger, disease, and exhaustion on the forced march, and over 4,000 out of 15,000 Cherokees died.
Some tribes rebelled against the Indian Removal Act. Federal troops and militias suppressed Sauk and Fox Indians, leading to the Black Hawk War. The tribes tried to reach safety along the western bank of the Mississippi River. After the war, 500 men, women, and children were slaughtered, including those of the tribes and their allies.
Jackson proceeded with the Removal Act despite Protestant and Eastern protests, as well as Supreme Court rulings. The Cherokee Nation versus Georgia of 1831 and Worcester versus Georgia of 1832 were cases that ruled Georgia had violated the U.S. Constitution in extending their jurisdiction of the Cherokees. The court won the legal jurisdiction, but Jackson didn't enforce the decision and proceeded with removing the Indians.
The effects of Jackson's presidency.
Because the elimination of the Bank of the United States, America experienced an economic downfall. The Panic of 1837 resulted in falling prices and credit. Businesses went bankrupt and unemployment increased. President Martin Van Buren tried to eliminate debt using the independent treasury system, which restored democratic ideals. However, despite his efforts, the second-party system developed. The system incorporated two parties, the Whigs and the Democrats. The Whigs believed that expansion would benefit the United States. They favored banking and paper money. They would pass tariffs for manufacturing, and they opened markets for farmers. The power went to the Whigs eventually in 1840, when William Henry Harrison was elected for president.
So, does Andrew Jackson really belong on the $20 bill?
Although he attempted to voice all classes of white males and get rid of corruption in the United States, Jackson does not deserve to be on the $20 bill because he disregarded minorities, and the effects of his actions resulted in downfall for the Democrat Party and economically for the United States. Ooh.